Everyone to today's webinar, and we are really excited to share with you our story today with our colleague Vaslav from EC3 to tell you how EPDs get added to the EC3 tool and how to make sure they get added accurately. So I'm Terry Swack, I'm the founder and CEO of Sustainable Minds, and my guests today are Vaslav and Amber, who will introduce themselves. The agenda will be, as your moderator, I'm going to introduce Sustainable Minds and the partnership that we've had with EC3 over the last few years. Then we'll turn it over to Vaslav, who will go into great detail to discuss how to add and update EPDs in the EC3 tool. And then he's going to demo how to compare materials in EC3. And then we're going to turn it over to Amber, who is responsible for customer success. She manages the transparency catalog data team and interfaces with our manufacturing customers all day long. So she's going to talk to you about how we manage and share data, maintain the data in the transparency catalog relevant to the EC3 tool. And then she's going to do a demo of how to find, compare, and export products, some of the new capabilities in our latest release. And then we're going to leave a bunch of time for Q&A. So over the duration of the webinar, we'll be keeping our eyes on the questions panel. We will try to get questions answered during the Q&A at the end, or even chatting to you during the session. Any questions that don't get answered, we'll definitely follow up with you after the webinar, and you have the opportunity when you exit the webinar to leave your thoughts and questions on your way out. Now, you will get a follow-up email probably tomorrow with a recording of the webinar. You're going to see that Vaslav has created a very handy one-pager of instructions of what he's going to demo, how to update and upload EPDs into the EC3 tool. You're going to get that as a one-pager with a link, so all that content's going to come to you. And you'll be able to request this deck if that's something you would like to have as well. So with those housekeeping items out of the way, let's dig right into today's content. So for those of you who are new to Sustainable Minds, I founded the company in 2007, and over the years, we have become the only end-to-end product transparency solutions provider in the market today. We are an EPD and PCR program operator. We deliver LCA and material ingredient and carbon accounting technical services. And we have the transparency catalog and a number of different kinds of digital reporting tools to help make transparency reporting simpler and easier and digital from the start. And because the way we look at this process of creating EPDs, an EPD is a marketing tool, right? It's a tool that enables manufacturers to tell their stories about the environmental performance of their products and what they're doing to improve. So product transparency really is part of product marketing, and we see it as that and work with our manufacturers to think of it that way and really try to understand those stories so they can convey them to the market, to you, to build credibility, preference, and value for brands. Is part of our educational approach to working with manufacturers and to working with everyone in the industry, like you who are here today. We really like to set the stage about what product transparency is, which is it's about product performance. Environmental performance and material health are performance criteria that are part of the definition of high performance building, and they're criteria that people use to make decisions about how to make products and how to select products. So these are performance criteria that manufacturers are evaluating and determining how to make improvements in their products when they make them, and their performance criteria that you as designers, architects, specifiers, building owners, contractors make decisions about product performance. These are criteria that you're using as well to make decisions. So, there was a time when just having an EPD or a material ingredient disclosure was enough for a manufacturer to get specified. So, 2016, 2017, 2018, as we were seeing real growth in manufacturers producing transparency disclosures, increasingly, more and more manufacturers had or now have disclosures. So it's not enough just to have them anymore. Actual performance matters. So people are looking for actually higher performing, greener and healthier products. And so what we try to do is not only make the manufacturers who have transparency information front and center through the transparency catalog for you who are trying to find brands and their products that are actually higher performing. We try to take the content from the disclosures and provide that in the transparency catalog interface itself to use that information to make better decisions more quickly. So it's not just the fact that there is a disclosure, but what is the disclosure telling you about the manufacturer and their products? So this is a quote from me. Okay, lost the close quote. We put out a new release a couple weeks ago, and we are really continuing to respond to the urgency to transform the built environment, to build better tools with better data that enable new workflows, because this is changing how you all do work and collaborate. And we will continue to build better tools, provide better data, help you create better workflows, make this stuff freely available, manage it. We're going to talk about that today, how we manage and curate it, and really target high performance, low carbon construction. So when we launched the catalog in 2016, there were only 350 brands anywhere in the world making products for the North American market where they had created either EPDs or material ingredient disclosures. You'll see when Amber gets to her section, now there are close to 2,000 manufacturers and industry associations in the catalog. So since 2016 till now, that's fairly significant growth. But since the beginning, because we are a program operator, because we do LCAs, we've been very focused on EPDs. So we have been the only product data platform to always aggregate all EPDs for products available in North America. And it is increasingly critical to not only have all those products and EPDs available, again, making the information understandable and easy to use, not just easy to find. So back when the EC3 tool was in its early stage development, we partnered with Stacy and Phil, for those of you who know the team, to be the first data partner and to think about how to simplify really this kind of new methodology that they had developed, which I'll talk about in just a minute, how to simplify and explain what they were doing to make the results in the EC3 tool more understandable and accessible, very quickly, if somebody is just going through the process of trying to identify lower embodied carbon materials. So this is what together we are committed to doing, is simplifying transparency reporting and making the data more understandable and meaningful and delivering tools. So for those of you who are familiar with the EC3 methodology, this will be no news to you, but for those who are less familiar, I'll do a quick explanation. So what their methodology does is they take all of the EPDs in a particular product category, and they take the reported embodied carbon reported results. So in LCA parlance, that's the global warming impact category modules A1 through A3, which is the manufacturing, so raw material acquisition and manufacturing. They take that reported number from all the EPDs in a category that they have, and they calculate a range, a reported range of results. And then to drive more specificity of reporting in the market, this methodology was designed to do that, was to make manufacturers make more specific EPDs so that you in the industry can calculate the actual embodied carbon impacts of the products you're selecting. Created this uncertainty calculation that essentially adds an uncertainty penalty, if you will, to the reported result if the data is not specific. So if it's not plant specific, if it's not product specific, a couple other variables. And so what we did was we said, okay, and by the way, all the uncertainty from each EPD is also included in the calculated range. So what we did was we said, let's just come up with some metrics, and it got broken down into quintiles, so 5 metrics to help people understand where does this particular EPD fall in the industry range? Is it in the lowest 20th, the 40th, the 60th, or is it so uncertain it's unknowable? You know, we suspect it's this, but it's not really knowable because of the way it's been reported. And so this is how we took essentially a 50-page methodology document and turned it into a tooltip. And you'll see how this shows up in the transparency catalog. And so the quintiles are designed to simplify identifying lower carbon products. So when you're in the transparency catalog and you're looking at a manufacturer's listing or you're looking at search results, in a glance, you can see and identify which products in their particular category are in the lower, mid-range, or higher end of that quintile calculation. And every one of these question marks brings up that, I'm going to say, unwieldy tooltip. It's kind of big, but you know, there's a lot to explain, and we don't like to leave things up to uncertainty. We like to explain things so you do understand. And now in this new release, rolled out a couple weeks ago, we've added a filter so that you can not just identify lower embodied carbon products, you can, in a single click, find and select those products to add to your projects. Now, anytime you're in the transparency catalog and you see an EPD that's in the EC3 tool, you can click that link. It's going to take you to the digital EPD where you can see the actual comparison, what that quintile is representing. And then you can continue on and go up here to the menu, compare materials or plan and compare buildings and start working on your project. And actually, if you're coming through the EC3 tool and you end up at a digital EPD or on the manufacturer's page, you're going to see there's a link to the transparency catalog, to the manufacturer's page from every digital EPD and manufacturer's company page. And Amber's going to touch on that as well. So wrapping up this section, we're going to talk about the EPDs, how they have arrived in the EC3 tool, and really how the industry now needs to step up and take responsibility for making sure EPDs that get published get added to the EC3 tool and accurately so that everyone has access to the best and most current data. And with that, I'm going to introduce Václav and have him take over the presentation. And take it away, Václav.
Great, thank you, Terry. And hi, everyone. My name is Václav Hasik, and I am the Program Director at Building Transparency. And as Terry mentioned, I'll go mainly over how to add and update EPDs in EC3. and how, what's the process of us adding and quality assuring some of the data. But I'll also go over some of the just quick examples of how the data is then being used by our users. So just a little bit about Building Transparency. We are a Washington State-based nonprofit, and our mission is to provide open access data and tools necessary for the construction industry to be able to address climate change. As Terry mentioned, Building Transparency started with the EC3 tool in 2019, which is really focused on the upfront carbon assessment. But we are also, continually adding other life cycle stages into the tool as well. We also took over the management of Tally LCA, which is a Revit plugin, and then we also have our latest tool addition, and that's the Tally Climate Action tool, which is also a Revit plugin that then connects directly into the EC3 database of environmental product declarations. Our work would not be possible without the generous support of our partners, so I just wanted to recognize that and show some of the partners that we have this year. Since this is mainly focused at manufacturers today and also program operators, I just wanted to share kind of the user base of EC3 and how, who is viewing potentially your environmental product declaration data in the EC3 tool. You can see here that we have been growing, steadily over the past 3 years in our user base. This is the total amount of registered users in EC3. It's not, the day-to-day users that actually come back, but it still gives you a good idea of, kind of the user base that is using the EC3 tool specifically. Now, at the core, EC3 started as a database of environmental product declarations. Again, the differentiation between some of the other platform, like Sustainable Minds or some of the other ones like UL Spot, and some of the other ones that just aggregate the PDF documents and make EPDs generally searchable by the manufacturer name or by the product name. We also started extracting some of the environmental impact information data. We have kind of focused on the global warming potential here from the beginning. That's because that is the environmental impact metric related to climate change issues. There are also some other environmental impact categories, and we try to extract those as well, but it's also harder to align some of those other ones than it is to align the global warming potential values in EPDs. And so with that, my main topic for today, again, is how do we get EPD data into EC3, how you can upload it yourself, and how you can work with your program operator to upload and manage that data in EC3. So this is kind of the outline of some of the things I will go through today. And I will be switching between, some of my slides, just showing you the outline and also showing you a live demo of where you can go in the tool and modify or add some of the information. I also encourage you to check out our website. We have, at buildingtransparency.org, we have the resources section where we have relatively short tutorial videos aimed at architects, engineers, manufacturers, program operators, and really anyone, even if you're brand new to the tool. We also have our user guide. So if you're, if you like to see written text down more than you like watching videos, you can also go into our user guide. So with that, I'll start with the first section of kind of my demo and an introduction into how to manage your EPDs in EC3, and that is how the EPDs get added and how the data gets added into EC3 in the first place. So we mostly work with other platforms. The best case scenario is where the EPD data is already digitally available in some of these other platforms, and then it can be digitally ingested into EC3. We can do this ourselves, but most of the time we work with other program operators to do this, or even other operators of some of these aggregation websites. So for example, sustainable mines, we work with them closely, obviously. Climate, Earth, Athena, UL, Smart EPD, and EnvironDeck, all those platforms, some of these are program operators. All of these already have some sort of a digital record of some of the EPD data. And so we can ingest those relatively easily. The problem most of the time is just mapping the different fields. Each of these platforms may be using different types of formats. So, following up on that, we are also developing what's called the Open EPD format, and we are working with all of these different program operators and aligning of what the different fields in a digital EPD are, what the options are, and how that information gets more easily transferred between different digital tools. Then there are other platforms like the Emerald Ecolabel, PEP Passport, INEAS, and Ecobaudot. These are mostly European, but those are other platforms that we get some of our data from. We also have an integration now with OpenLCA. So if you are using OpenLCA for your lifecycle assessment, in the latest 2.0 version, there will be a direct export of environmental impact data into EC3. And then you can go and refine some of the additional fields that really make it a full-on EPD document. So this is really our preferred method, and that's because there's less, less opportunity for errors when we are already ingesting digital data in the first place. The second method that has been, I would say, most prevalent in the early days of EC3, but also is prevalent for architects that are actually receiving PDF documents of environmental product declarations, or manufacturers that have them and don't work with the program operator right away. They can upload PDF documents into EC3. So I'll go over that method right now. It's really simple. So if you open up EC3, in the left-hand menu, there's a section called Add EPDs to EC3. And then you can go into Import EPDs from PDF, find that PDF document, and upload it into the system. This may take a couple of seconds to really just upload into our repository. And then our scripts go through the EPD, extract the text and the data, make it a digital information, and then they try to identify which fields in the digital EPD some of the information should go to. And we have multiple different scripts that can handle different formats of EPDs, but there's such large amount of these different formats that it can be relatively difficult to do this, reliably. So once you upload the EPD, you will either see that it's been uploaded, or you can also see different statuses of how successful that upload was. In cases where we already have that PDF document in the database, we can also, the system can also recognize that, and it will simply give you a link to the existing entry in EC3. When you want to look at a list of all of the PDF documents that you've added in the past, you can go into the My Import section, and I'll just switch over to my other tab here. I just clicked it, sorry. Okay, so we'll go into my imports. And here I only uploaded one PDF document as a demo for this webinar. But in some cases, you may have a list of all of the EPDs that you've uploaded here with the different parsing status also displayed here. I will go over the different types of upload statuses later on, so I won't be spending too much time here. But you can also open up the PDF document, the original PDF document here, and you can open up the digital EPD page just by clicking on the open button. Again, I'll come back to the digital EPD page a little bit later and show you how manufacturers and program operators can edit some of this information. So with that, let me switch back to our slides. Now we've covered how data gets into the EC3 tool and what are the two different ways to do that. Now, once the data is in the EC3 tool, how can you see all of the EPDs? We already touched on one place where you can see them, but there are two other places, so I'll show that next. And then we'll spend some more time in the digital EPD pages and just walk through some of the fields, show you which one manufacturers can edit and which ones can be edited by us or the program operator. So with that, let me switch back to the EC3 tool, and we will go over the My EPD section first. So the My EPD section is here in the Manage Data tab in the left-hand menu again. You can see a couple different options here, but My EPDs is really where you're looking as a manufacturer or program operator. This will show you just the list of EPDs that are linked to your particular organization. So in this case, I created a mock-up, manufacturer called Václav Incorporated, and I have a couple of EPDs here that are linked to my organization. You can see it here as the manufacturer. If this list gets longer, you can also filter this by the different product categories where some of your products may be. For example, some of my products here on resilient flooring, and you can really just filter by those particular category items. You can also see the different plans, the product names, descriptions, program operators, etc. You can always edit additional columns if you want to see different information here. You can also create EPDs directly in EC3 from scratch. Some of our program operators do this. And the way to do that is back in the Add EPDs section. You would click on Create Draft EPDs, and then it will take you to the digital EPD page. You can fill out the information and save it as draft. So those types of EPDs would then show up in the draft table here. What this means is that even if the EPD is fully filled out and all of the fields are correct, if it's in draft mode, it will still not show up in public searches until it really is published. And at that point, it would also show up in the editable and the declared section here. Some of the other tabs here are more for program operators. So we also track, a list of EPDs that are program operated by a particular organization. And then also if you're a third-party verifier, you have your own tab here as well. The other place where you can see a list of your own EPDs are on the organization page. You can get to it. The quickest way to get to your organization is by clicking on the logo next to your username. So up at the top, you can see that this actually did not take me to the organization that I wanted. I'm actually linked to two organizations here, right? Building Transparency and then Václav Incorporated. So I switched to my Václav Incorporated organization. This is my mock-up manufacturer. You can see that now I can actually edit some of these fields. And that is because I am the organization admin here. So if you have a larger team of people that should be able to maintain and edit and see some of the EPDs that are linked to your organization, what you will need to do is have those people register for EC3, and then you can edit their access permissions here. In order to be able to edit EPDs that are linked to your organization, those people need at least write or manage access in this particular table. Now I'm the organization admin already, so I can actually edit some of the EPDs that are linked to this particular organization. And when I scroll all the way to the down to the bottom of the page, you can see another list of EPDs. And you'll see that these are all the EPDs that have already been published. They may not necessarily be searchable yet because of some of these issues that have been identified in those EPDs. And I'll go over some of these statuses in just a minute. But you can see all the list of EPDs that are linked to your organization here. You can also manage the plans that are linked to your organization. And this will be important on the digital EPD page. There's a section where you can fill out the exact location of where some of those products are manufactured. So I'll go over that in a second as well. I'll stop here for a second. So we get a lot of frequently asked questions about manufacturers seeing a lot of EPDs here that are maybe older EPDs. or some duplicates sometimes. That can happen if there are minor changes in the PDF documents that have been updated. Either the EPD itself has been updated, there have been corrections, or just the formatting has changed, or an older EPD has expired and there has been a newer version of an EPD uploaded again. So we don't delete any of the EPD entries that are in here. We either merge them, or we simply, the EPDs that expire will not be searchable in today's searches, because there's an expiration date filter in the user searches. And so only the currently valid EPDs will show up in public user searches. The reason why we keep all of the older EPDs is because in older, building projects where architects and engineers may have linked those particular products to their project, we kind of need a permanent record of what the information was that was linked to that particular project. So I think that covers kind of the list of EPDs. I think, let's see what was next, right? So viewing the digitized EPD page and which fields you can edit. So let's switch over to that section. And let's look at one of these example, test EPDs. So now we are looking at the digital EPD page. This really is a kind of a mock-up of what the PDF document, what kind of information the PDF document holds. But you can see that all of it is in a digital form. It's all standardized across the entire EC3 tool. And these are kind of the standardizations that we're working with some of the program operators on as well, to make sure that all these fields are aligned across the different platforms. Now you can see that none of these fields are editable right now. I can only view them. And we have the general information about the product at the top, and then the verification and plant information down at the bottom. Now, to be able to edit this EPD, I can click on edit. It says edit as pilot here, but for manufacturers, it may say edit as manufacturer. And manufacturers cannot edit all of the fields. This is a bad example, sorry about that. Let me show you this one. So manufacturers cannot edit all of the fields. They can mostly edit anything that's on the right side of the page, and then obviously the product name and some of the categories where it shows up. You can see that when I click the edit button, some of the fields, are not grayed out anymore, and you can see that they're actually editable. The information that a manufacturer can edit is, again, mostly on the right side of the page. It includes the product specification. This is really helping users to find the right types of products or product EPDs for their particular application. And there are additional fields. These are not always all the fields that are available on the PDF document, but they can be helpful for people searching. So we definitely encourage manufacturers to go in and fill out as much of this as possible. You can also edit down at the bottom right corner, again, the plant. So for example, you can select existing plants, or you can create a new plant, and you can give it a name, you can give it an address. And then you can also create groups of plants if you have an EPD that covers, that shows the average global warming potential for a number of manufacturing facilities. Here down in the plant section, you'll be able to select multiple plants and then save that plant group. In this case, I also have to fill out the group name. You can see that anything on the left page, I cannot edit. That's only editable by our team or the program operator. So we definitely encourage you to reach out to the program operator if any of these fields are incorrect or if they're not filled out. It includes the product category rules, the environmental impact section, and that's mostly it. It's really any of the information that needs to be published and verified by the program operator. If you need to report any issues to our team, you can do so by using this report bugs and feedback button. And it's best to do it from this EPD page if you have single EPD errors, because then we can immediately see which EPD it is. If you have a list of EPDs that need to be updated, it's best to just reach out to us via email and send us the list of all of the URL links to all of the EPDs that need to be updated, including some of the descriptions of the types of errors that you would like to be addressed. Now we are finally getting into the section of kind of explaining some of the different statuses of uploaded EPDs. One place where you can see the different errors or failures or warnings is on the EPD page up in the top right corner. You can open up this sanitizer window. And it tells you exactly which fields are causing the EPD to either fail or be errored. Some of these warnings are really just things that are good to have, but are not necessarily preventing an EPD from being publicly searchable and visible in the database. On the other hand, the errors and failures, if an EPD has just one error or failure identified by our quality assurance script, then it will not show up in public searches. It will still be held in the database. You will be able to see it as a manufacturer or program operator, but architects and engineers will not be able to use that information or search for that information and assign it to their projects. So the other place where you can also learn a little bit more about the different statuses is in any of these tables that we went over earlier. If you hover over the status column, it will give you, again, the description of the different statuses. There are really 5 of them in our system. Failed and errored, those are some of the required fields that are not either they're not filled out or they are not within the parameters that we would expect them to be. And again, those EPDs will not show up in public searches. Then we have the expired status. Those are EPDs that may be already searchable in the database, but as of today, they are expired. And then we have warnings and OKs. Warnings, again, have some minor issues that are nice to have types of fields, but are not necessary for a reliable display of the data to our users. And then OK is really the ideal scenario where all of the fields are filled out to as best as you can. So one last thing, so far we have been showing the digital EPD page for a product specific EPD. The digital EPD page for an industry-wide EPD shows, looks a little bit different. So let me spend a minute there as well. I'll go into my managed data, and you can go and look at all of the industry-wide EPDs that we have in the database. Now, if I open up, show again something in the resilient flooring category. I know we have, we've worked with the Resilient Flooring Institute in making sure that most of this information is fully filled out. So let me show you an example here in this category. So now most of the information on the industry-wide EPD page will look the same. There are a couple fields that are slightly different. So once this loads, I'll be able to show you the section where you as a manufacturer can be connected to this particular industry-wide EPD. It looks like my internet is a little bit slow, so just a little bit of patience here, please. Sorry about that. In the industry-wide EPD on the right side where it says plant group here, and instead on the industry-wide EPD page, there's a section for members of that industry-wide EPD. And essentially, if you're a manufacturer that contributed data to that industry-wide EPD, you should be in that list. And that will also then be shown to users when they search for those industry-wide EPDs. So if you're not listed here, definitely report that to us or to the program operator, and they will be able to add you there. So with that, we covered really most of the pages where you can edit and manage data. Again, if you find any errors that have been flagged, those errors, report those to us. In some cases, we can also have some errors that may not be flagged, so also report those to us. We absolutely want to make this kind of a crowdsourced effort where we all ensure that all of the data in the database is as good as it can be, and so reporting these issues to us right away is the best way to go. Now the last section, and I'll just cover this in the next few minutes, is how our users are actually using the EPD data once it is in the tool. I mentioned that some data is searchable, some isn't, so I'll go over a quick overview of how the data can be searched in the tool. So back to the EC3 tool, we have a section for finding and comparing materials. So that's really the first option here in the left-hand menu. You can go into a particular category here. So I'll again show you resilient flooring as an example. You can select that category, and now you have an option to add additional performance specifications here. You don't have to fill those out if you don't want to. You can just search for all of the EPDs that are in our resilient flooring category. Note some of the default filters that we have here. So we are showing you both product EPDs and industry-wide EPDs, and we have this validity filter included by default. And this is where I mentioned that expired EPDs would not show up in this particular case. You can remove either of these filters just by clicking the X buttons. Once all of the EPDs load, you can see the statistics for this particular category here on the right side. This is something that Terry has already touched on. And if you scroll to the bottom, you can see the individual EPDs listed down here. Again, these are only EPDs that have passed some of the quality assurance checks or have been reviewed by our team. In the industry EPDs tab, you can also see the industry-wide EPDs. And here, if I switch to participants, you will see that we have a number of manufacturers for a lot of these industry-wide EPDs that have been linked to those industry-wide EPDs. So that's the first way that users can find your data. The second way is to actually link them to their building projects. So if you go into plan and compare buildings, you can create a building project, add individual elements, the quantities of those elements or materials, and then you can select the type of product or material that it is. So for example, in this case, I selected some rebar steel, hollow sections, and then ready mix concrete for this pile element. Now I can also select specific EPDs. So if I switch over to selected here, in some cases, I'm just using the general category of products. In other cases, like in this one, I actually selected a specific ready mix from a specific manufacturer, and that has been linked to my project. And in that case, you can then see in the results where your selected product actually lands within the whole category and how it contributes to the entire building impact. So with that, I'll hand it over. This really covers everything that I had prepared for you today. I'll hand it over to Amber, and then we'll also be able to answer any questions that you may still have. Thank you.
Thank you, Václav. That was really thorough and answered a lot of questions that we meant to cover. And I learned a couple things, so that's always helpful. That's why we like to do webinars and learn from our friends. So, like I said, you all can request the deck. You will receive a recording. You will receive the one pager with all those instructions and links tomorrow. And I'd like to turn it over to Amber to tell you about how we manage and share data with the EC3 tool and how you can use the transparency catalog to find, compare, and export lower embodied carbon tools, products. Take it away, Amber.
Thanks, Terry, and thank you, Václav. Hi, everyone. My name is Amber, and I handle customer success for the Transparency Catalog. So as Terry mentioned, I onboard and interface with our manufacturer customers in my day-to-day role. I also manage our data team to keep content up to date and accurate in the catalog. So today I'll be overviewing the EPD data sharing and maintenance that we do between the EC3 tool and Sustainable Minds. And I'll be demoing how to use the Transparency Catalog to find, compare, and export products with EC3 results. So on this slide, you can see the Transparency Catalog's front page. In the catalog are high performance, low embodied carbon materials, and users can come to the Transparency Catalog and begin their search by filtering on the master format division and section filters here, or by searching by keyword to get to product and disclosure results. As Terry also mentioned, the Transparency Catalog has EPDs and material ingredient disclosures from every manufacturer and industry organization for products available in the North American market. So currently we have over 1,920 manufacturers and industry organizations in the catalog, 27 master format divisions, and over 1,250 sections. Every month, our data team is adding more manufacturers and sections to the catalog, and I update these stats as the numbers grow. So how are EPDs shared and maintained between the EC3 tool and the Transparency Catalog? EC3 sends all new EPDs and new quintile data that is added to the EC3 tool in a month. And our data team at the Transparency Catalog then updates the catalog with the new data from the custom API we get from EC3. The team will add the link to the EC3 tool results and the embodied carbon results quintiles to the catalog. And every month, Sustainable Minds sends EC3 new manufacturers with EPDs that have been added to the Transparency Catalog that month. So a couple additional points about the EPD synchronization between the tools. There are a few reasons why an EPD in the Transparency Catalog may not have a quintile. It could be that the product category is not yet in the EC3 tool. There are not enough EPDs for the embodied carbon result comparison calculation. The digitized EPD in EC3 could contain an error, or the uploaded EPD could not be machine read correctly by EC3. We use the EC3 API to update monthly, as I mentioned. And another thing that Sustainable Minds does is we work with manufacturers who have subscriptions in the Transparency Catalog to make sure that all of their EPDs are in the EC3 tool and have been entered correctly and accurately. It's also important to note that the EC3 tool and the Transparency Catalog have different ways of organizing or categorizing EPDs. So in the Transparency Catalog, we include the PDF of the EPD one time and associate it with the product or multiple products that it covers. Whereas in EC3, if a single EPD has multiple data points for one product type, so an example would be if an EPD is for carpet and it has results from multiple facilities, or if it represents a product line with multiple yarn weights, the EC3 tool will have multiple EPD results. Therefore, one EPD for 12 products in the transparency catalog could turn into 12 EPDs in the EC3 tool. For this reason, the number of EPDs can differ between the tools. So going back to the synchronization, why does Sustainable Minds send our new manufacturers with EPDs to the EC3 tool on a monthly basis? So we synchronize across the two tools so that every manufacturer and all of their EPDs is in both the EC3 tool and the transparency catalog. In EC3, every digital EPD has the link to the manufacturer's listing in the transparency catalog. In addition, every manufacturer's organization page in EC3 has the transparency catalog link as well, so we cross-link from there. We synchronize so that all EPDs are in both tools and users can easily be cross-linked from either the EC3 tool to the transparency catalog listing or vice versa. So for all of our customer manufacturer listings in the transparency catalog that include EC3 results, again, we also cross-link to the EC3 tool. So we include the EC3 partner logo over on the left-hand side of the listing. And we want to make sure that we can connect the last mile for users of the EC3 tool as well. So when they come to the transparency catalog, they are able to use our handy contact form in the upper right-hand side of the manufacturer's listing to contact manufacturers with inquiries that they may have about products, samples, specifications, technical questions, or anything else. So in our new V4 release of the transparency catalog, now using the EC3 embodied carbon filter, which I'll be demoing in just a moment, and our select and export functionality, users can easily identify low embodied carbon products from search results and make material selection decisions for their building projects. So I will now hop over to a quick demo of how to use that filter. So here I am on the transparency catalog's front page. If you are looking to export products to get them into your internal specification, you will need to start by creating a transparency catalog account. So up here in the header, you are able to sign up for or log into your transparency catalog account. For this demo, I am already logged in. So let's say I want to filter on Division 7 for products with low embodied carbon quintiles. So I go here, select thermal and moisture protection, Division 7, and hit go to be taken to search results. So you can see here that Division 7 is full of brands. If you look at the top of the search results here, we have 352 brands and over 2,400 products in search results for that division. Now I'm going
Amber,
yep.
Just go ahead and log in before you start filtering. I didn't reload the page after I logged out, so it looked like I was logged in.
Oh, thanks for that note. So as I mentioned, you will have to log in to be able to export products. So you can go to create a free account. To create your account, we ask for some basic information. It's a super easy process to get signed up. I'll go ahead and log in, and I'll be taken right back to those Division 7 search results here. And I'll just scroll down. And you can see on the left-hand side, the EC3 embodied carbon filter. And when I expand that, you can see the different quintiles that show up in the product search results here that can be selected to further filter the search results. So let's say I'm interested in product results with embodied carbon quintiles in the 20th percentile and 40th. You can now see, if I scroll back up, that number is now 36 brands and 203 products in our search results. Now what I can do is select products that I'm interested in by using the check mark next to the product name in the search results. So let's say I'm interested in some of these GAF product results with the 20th percentile quintiles. And if I scroll down, I also select some products here and here. What I can now do with our export and select and filter functionality is I can actually filter to only show the product entries that I've selected on. So when I click this, any products in search results that I have not selected will collapse, and I can see and compare the products that I was interested in and selected here. My next step is to click the Export Products button, which will trigger a download of a CSV file containing those products that I selected. And I'll just open that up so I can show you what that looks like. So here I am. It's a CSV file, so it can be opened in Excel or Numbers in this case on a Mac. And all of the products information that we're showing in the search results for the products that I've selected have been exported out into the CSV file. You can see the company, and we always link back to the manufacturer's listing in the transparency catalog in this column, transparency catalog URL. We also list the master format section from which the product was filtered on and found, the product name and its URL, either in a page on the transparency catalog or externally to the manufacturer's website. And for any EPDs or material ingredient disclosures that that product has, we have a column to give that information. So in this case, we're looking at the EPD program operator, the EPD type if it's product specific or industry average, the scope region, and then you can see that EC3 embodied carbon quintile result that we filtered on to find these products in search results. There's also the expiry date, and then for some of these products, there's also the HPD and declare information for those material ingredient disclosures. I know we're running up on time here, so I'll stop there and turn it back over to Terry.
Well, thank you, Amber. Shockingly, Vasila, there are no questions, which means either you answered every question anybody could think of, or it was so much information, no questions could be formulated. So we'll see how many questions come in as people exit and following on this email. So just to wrap up some key points, if you're a manufacturer on this webinar, you can enter your own EPDs into the EC3 tool. You can build a digital EPD, but you will need to get your program operator involved to complete the program operator sections. So conversely, when you publish an EPD with a program operator who is not us, ask them to make sure that they enter the EPD into the EC3 tool. If you work with Sustainable Minds, that's part of our EPD deliverable. You get a PDF, it also gets entered into the EC3 tool. But when you become a transparency catalog customer and you have EPDs that you created with another program operator, Amber, her team will work with you to make sure that your EPDs are in the EC3 tool and that they have been entered correctly. So I want to thank both of you for your time today and for all of you who attended and stayed till the end. You can always attend a second time. Like I said, you will get the recording, and use the EC3 tool. It's free. Use the transparency catalog. It's free. And go and have a great day. Thank you, Vaslav and Amber.